especially Mora Tachtel, who really take the time to care about every girl and what they're worried about, and tap into helping them and reassuring them.
Amazing. Wow. There's nothing like just the experience, hard-won experience of a mother. So you mentioned about girls not just being like a faceless name. Beis Rivka Baruch Hashem has over 600 girls, and sometimes it could be just overwhelming. There's so many girls. How do you help your daughter find their place in such a big school? I mean, you walk into the shul and there's just hundreds of girls. So how could mothers really help their daughters find the place?
If I may begin, I think that what Mrs. Rifkin said was just so apropos. Mora Tachtel has the wisdom of taking care of our girls for decades. And she just always knows what to say and the right thing to say. And when your daughter, Malki, came in and was like, well, I don't know if I'm the typical Beis Rivka girl. And she said, there's no such thing. You just have to be a mensch. You have to be nice to everybody. And I can't reiterate that enough. That is so important. I think our girls have to know that they need to be prepared, that it's a community school, and there are many types of girls on different levels of maybe Chassidishkeit or different levels of interest in learning. They need to know that you need to be nice to everyone. No, it's not a matter of who's your type. Be a mensch. And to your teachers too, be a mensch, be nice, one day at a time. Don't try to envision where you want to be in 3 years and 5 years. That's overwhelming for grown-ups. So I think we need to dial our kids back a little bit and just say, one day at a time, one smile at a time, one notice at a time, because they have never had so many teachers in their life. And they're used to having a teacher that's their homeroom teacher, or that's their main mechanechas, that notices them. And say it, you could cover it up any way you want. It is possible to be what the girls feel unnoticed. Even if the teachers are noticing them and the shluchas noticing them, your daughter might feel unnoticed, and for good reason, because it's so overwhelming and there's so many girls. And we need to prepare them for that. And we need to tell them you're coming from either a small school or a place where you were noticed and taken care of and did like an elementary kid. And all of a sudden there's a sea of girls in the hallway and they're overwhelmed. Some girls are like, yes, I made it to the big leagues. I have arrived. And some girls will be overwhelmed. You can tell your daughter it's okay to feel a little overwhelmed, day by day. So the expectations were, you want them to come home and say, wow, I love it, and it's amazing, and it's so great, when really inside you're shocked. And if I could say, I don't know about now, but for many years or decades, there was a bit of a culture in Beis Rivka where everything's amazing. To go to camp, whether they had a great time or not, it's amazing. The program is amazing. Everything's amazing, because who wants to be part of something that wasn't amazing? So as they're trying to establish, self-esteem, it has to be amazing. So inside they're feeling it wasn't such an amazing day. Don't fall apart if your daughter says, wow, it was overwhelming. Just validate them and say, yeah, I could imagine that it was overwhelming, and then they'll feel okay. As I said, advocate for your child. Malki made a very good point, Mrs. Rifkin. It shouldn't just be, before the year, as the year gets started and into the year, always be in touch with somebody. And, we want to empower our daughters. We don't want to overpower them. So listen carefully, express hakaras hatov to this. And I want to express hakaras hatov now to the amazing principals and the amazing teachers that have helped me raise my daughters and were part of their chinuch. And I think if your children feel the hakaras hatov that you have, as well as the honest validation, it strikes a good balance for them as they go into their first days and weeks of, a whole new scene. Mrs. Rifkin?
Okay, thank you. All great points. I love that, what you said about the validation plus also, like spinning it with the positive, helping them to see like both sides. Like it's okay to be overwhelming, but it's also great. Like I think probably as teenagers, they're probably going to feel like that 1 minute to the next. So they're crying on one side and laughing, the next minute. So I think that's exactly what you said. So I think I'm trying to remember the exact question that we're addressing is how to help them navigate with friends and social life and all the things that they're doing in school. It's there's projects and homework and teachers and schedules and friends and activities and parties. I mean, it's like tremendous, you need tremendous executive function to navigate your life as a face-to-face girl, keep up with your schedule and all this, everything as well. So first of all, as high school girls and teenagers, you have to open the lines of communication. And some others might be wondering, how do you even know if they like it or if they don't like, are your daughters talking to you and telling you all this? Because not every daughter opens up and says all this. We're saying it like a given, like they're going to tell you it's overwhelming or they're going to tell you it's amazing. And you might be saying, well, my daughter doesn't tell me. So first of all, as they mature and grow, hopefully they will open up and talk more. And some girls talk more and some girls talk less. I think a key is, open-ended questions and conversation, not just, how was your day? Great or amazing, right? We want, a little bit more. I know one thing that works for me sometimes with my own overwhelming schedule, how do I help them with their overwhelming schedule, is just like kind of trying to, jot it down. Olden days, it was a paper planner. Now it's, on the phone, Google Calendar, whatever it is, to try to keep track of their schedule, because this is their life. When they have that project due, or they have that gemer, or they have the achos trip, or they have a farbrengen, or whatever it is, a math test that they're very worried about, that is their life. That's what they're chatting to their friends about, and that's what they're talking about, and that's what they're worried about, or that's what they're excited about. So when you keep track of that, and then again, in towners, the girl leaves in the morning, she might say, oh gosh, I have the math test today, I'm so worried. So then when she comes home, you say, hey, how was your day? How was that math test? How did it go? What happened at the math test? An out of town mother, maybe we're on the phone with them or whatever it is later, or chatting with them, you try to remember to ask about that thing that they were excited about or worried about. How did the program go? Did you end up going to the program, or did you present your project, or how did the math, whatever it is, try to keep track of their schedule and interact with them in your conversations to draw it out of them, and that, to get that mode of communication going. Beis Rivka has amazing, there will be speakers, and then when it's Yom Pagran special days, shluchim and shluchais that come, and Yotis Kislev, the whole school is from top to bottom transformed, with every single room is a different scene, and these amazing things that the girls are experiencing. So although we're all very busy, so we don't have time to sit and chat, and this one's pulling us and that one's pulling us, and we have our own things going on, like maybe older children, younger children, or whatever it is, shluchas work, whatever. But ask them about it, like, oh, who was the speaker? Or what did they say? Whoa, what now everyone also has phones, and they want to share pictures with you. Oh my goodness, this Yotes Kislev scene, and this was the, and they want to share the videos or whatever it is, or ask them to share if they don't want to. The point is that you could like get involved in their life. And believe me, it's a little easier nowadays, and harder generation to raise, but easier in a way because we have all this technology. It's easy to share a picture or something like that. So I think that is one thing. And then I guess with friends, especially out of town, you don't know who their friends are because you're not there. They're not walking into the house with Chaya and Shani and Sarah. Like, you have to ask questions. They say, oh, it's a birthday, I'm going for someone's birthday. So maybe in town also, you have to say, whose birthday? Oh, where are you going? Who else is going? Like, you got to draw it out of them, because they're not going to volunteer and say, like, these 10 girls are going. Or sometimes it's something dramatic and negative, right? When it comes time for camp, and who's going to which camp, and who's going as which group, that might be something they're very worried about. And, in their mind, it's very big and it's a lot. So you have to sort of draw out from them the names. Who are they worried about? Who do they want to go with? Who do they not want to go with? Or whatever it is, whether it's the positive or the negative, and try to like elicit that information. So like you have a handle on who are they talking about? Who are these friends, or what are they doing? Who are they going with? And then again, obviously, if it's something that they're worried about, to try to, help them in any way or empathize or work it out with them. I think that especially smaller programs, sometimes in the beginning, are easier ways to make friends. A smaller Farbrengen. I know that there's so many class Farbrengens in houses, or sometimes there's like a Shabbos shir, or like there's morning chassidus, I think, before davening, like little smaller groups where they can come and it's not as overwhelming. And there's a few girls there, and then maybe they'll connect with someone. I think there's like a Big and Little Sister program. Again, that's like one-on-one, great opportunities to meet other girls, not in such an overwhelming setting.
Wow. I'm taking it all in, even though I only have boys and not a big surfka and not in high school, but I'm just learning from there's nothing like a mother that gives experience. So I have a question. You shared so much about high school and about busy and about being on top of it. What about if your daughter is struggling, whether it's socially or academically? How can you be of support then?
First of all, Mrs. Rifkin, what you said, I just want to continue what you said and, segue into this. What you said about sometimes it's like pulling teeth when you want to talk to your children. Not every child comes home and shares. And that is so, so true, especially for teenagers. And you might find that your adorable little 4th, 5th grader or 6th grader is all of a sudden, giving you attitude. Just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath and don't take things personally when they're struggling. It's not a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of your struggles. They're struggling. We need to be there for them, and we need to know and acknowledge that our kids could be struggling in a way that we might not be able to relate to, because maybe your life was a little bit more simpler going back 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, and just be there for your child. I think that, you can assume and you can imagine their self-esteem is crucial to them right now. And as they navigate and they get settled, if you notice that they're struggling academically, help them succeed in a different way. Get them involved in a chesed, get them maybe signed up for the friendship circle, help them to choose to do art classes if they want to develop a talent that they have. Do whatever you can to make it happen, even though it's super expensive, because that gives them such a sense of self-confidence. And self-confidence and resilience are the building blocks of life, not chemistry and not math. The resilience that comes from struggling through chemistry or math or earth science when you're not interested, it gives them strength to do things further on in life that they're not interested in doing. But at the end of the day, their self-confidence and their sense of self that they're shaping now will last them through their life. And we have to be super careful not to judge them when they're struggling, and not to panic if for whatever reason we feel they're not being popular, because, oh my gosh, what do you mean you don't have anyone to go with, or you don't have a this or that? It all needs to be taken by us seriously, and it needs to be taken in stride. And we need to finagle a way to somehow hear from a cousin, from a friend, what she's going through. If for whatever reason our daughters don't want to confide in us, if they're struggling socially, figure out a way to get that information from somebody else without being insulted and without feeling humiliated. It's very common. There's an expression, it takes a village to raise a child. And in certain ways, it's true. Sometimes you need to take advantage of a younger aunt or a cousin that's a role model, or a neighbor that she likes to chat with and hang out with, or that's our job, is to find out who are the people that our daughter connects with if we feel they're not at that moment in their life, at that period, feeling safe or wanting to confide in us. And if you give them that space and you're, non-judgmentally there for them, I promise you it will come back to you 100 times more over for the rest of their life. Like Malki said, their Space Rivka has so many things that you can taste from. It's like she said, it's like a smorgasbord. There's so much going on that there's a place for every child to succeed. And I think it's one of the biggest brachos in Lubavitch and in Beis Rivka is that there really is a way for every child to shine. If she's good at organizing, she can organize. If she's good at painting, she'll be painting scenery. If she's good with people, she can go on with time, or she can be involved in so many different things. And don't underestimate the extracurricular. It's not extracurricular. It's the stuff that will help them if they're struggling academically or socially. One thing I'll mention to you that I think is very helpful is, for you to be involved in her life, if she's struggling academically or socially, or if she's not struggling academically and socially, I think it's very important to do things with your daughter just because. Our lives are so hectic. Every mother has 1,000 things on her plate and so many priorities that, like, number 17 is your top priority. Like, what do you do? Find the time, half an hour here, 20 minutes there, an hour there, to do something with just one daughter at a time, just because. If you're taking her to the dentist, you know what? Take her out to eat on the way home. She'll come back an hour late to school. Now, I'm not going to publicly condone playing hooky with your daughter, but maybe I am. Maybe that half an hour that you're taking your daughter out of school or picking her up early, and you're calling up the school and saying, my daughter's leaving at 4 today. And, you take your daughter out to eat. You take your daughter shopping for something that she doesn't need, not for uniform, and not, oh my gosh, I have no Shabbos clothes, I have no this, I have that, just take her somewhere, do something with her. And, we brain space thinking about our girls and our boys and our children, and we spend so much money on them, but do they know how much we like them? Do they know we like them? It's so important for your kids to know that you like them, that you think they're just awesome kids. We're so stressed out with all the things that they have to do, when we're constantly, so don't forget, your kids have to know you like them. Do things with them just because. And even if it's once in 3-4 months, believe me, they will never forget it. And we need to be there for them. And, just Malki, continue, Mrs. Rivkin.
Yeah, all very true. And constant reminders about what you're saying is very important, especially as our lives get busier and life is just so busy. Very important reminders. I think especially in the teenage years, as the teenagers are trying to find themselves, I think someone once told me there's like a saying like that the teenager is trying to figure out where you end and they begin. They're trying to find themselves. Who are they? Why is this? Am I doing this because I believe in it? Am I doing this because I think it's good? Am I doing it because my mother told me to? Am I doing it because my teacher told me to? Am I doing it? And, for the positive, maybe because this is what Chassidus tells me to do, or what the Rebbe tells me to do. And these are all, things that they're thinking about. And, as mothers, we're sort of navigating this with them, and especially if they're struggling, it's hard. Like you said, Hani, you said, like, it's so hard when you have to just sort of like cheer them on from behind the scene. You can't do it for them. Can't hold their hands through it necessarily in the same way like when they were the 4th grader. You're just sort of watching, and like you wish you could change things, you wish they weren't struggling in that way, or worried or sad or frustrated. Especially as an out-of-town mother, I think that's one of the hardest things. Obviously, we miss our children when they go away, our daughters, who nobody wants to send their child away far. And then, of course, a daughter, and they're, your right hand helping everything get home and on shlichus, and then they leave, So that's not easy to parent from afar and to guide them from afar and to help them with their struggles from afar. I guess one thing is, we know that, I mean, I wish upon everyone that we should all have close relationships with our children, with Hashem's help. But you could be very close, right? And then have a far relationship, so to speak, or you could be far away and have a close relationship. So I guess distance is not the only factor. But I think that at this stage in life, I think for sure, influence from their friends plays a big role. What their friends are saying makes that, sometimes it's not really something so hard or terrible going on in school, but it's like what everybody is saying, so it makes them say it, and there's like a whole hype about it. But that really makes a difference in their life. Obviously, as a mother, I think that we have every right, and not only every right, it's our privilege and our obligation to speak up and to say our opinion as well, and maybe whatever the right, I mean, what we feel is the right opinion or perspective, but still listen to what they're saying or what they're feeling or what their friends are saying. I think we're lucky that in this tough generation, we do have all the, the WhatsApps and the chats, with the mothers, like they mentioned at the beginning. It's a different world raising children. Obviously, it's for the better and for the worse. We're on a million chats and we get a million pings and a million messages and we don't know right from left, but it still helps us to keep up with the pulse. I think it is very important to be on those chats and to hear what are all the mothers saying. On the chat, it's going to be all the information, the programs that are going on, the schedule things, and then also all the hype, what people are worried about. My daughter said, is this true? And, we have amazing principals and great principals who are on the chats with us, answering, responding, giving perspective, when we're worried about something. So I think that also helps us to support our daughters through whatever's happening, because we have the knowledge about it, also from behind the scenes. I mean, Mrs. Almanov said, maybe through cousins or older friends or whatever, that's one way. But another way is literally because you're in the pulse, because you're following what's happening. Sometimes it's easy to say like, oh, I can't read 100 messages. I can't read it. I understand we can't read, especially we have many chats, we all have, but it's important to understand what your daughter's talking about, because you are in the pulse of it. So I think that's important. And I think, just empathizing, listening, and I guess, like I said, finding that balance of saying your opinion, because that's your right and your privilege as a mother, but also listening to what they feel or what you hear that their friends are saying, trying to stay positive. Sometimes girls, at this age could be a little negative, just trying to stay positive about school, positive about Beis Rivka. I think that will subtly sink in. Some of us went to the same school and it's the same struggles and the same issues and some of the same teachers. But, we don't have to get into it with them in the negative. You could just, stay positive and share the positive outlook. I think that is helpful always, because, sometimes they're already bombarded with the struggles that they have or with the negative or with what their friends are saying. So it's good to hear from the mother, sometimes the other side.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you so much. I'm curious, Mrs. Oh, just my video didn't get on.
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah. Mrs. Rivkin touched on like negativity for the school, which sometimes could happen. There's rules and there's work and it's hard and they might have a venting session. I'm curious, Mrs. Almanov, also, for you to have insight, how to balance, like, how to keep encouraging your daughter to have a positive perspective for the place where she's spending most of her day, really.
I think that teenagers and even little kids, they're very smart. They pick up our body language. They pick up if we roll our eyes when they say something about their teacher. And I think if there's a consistent, commiseration, great. And, empathy, yes, but never, ever derision, never, ever rolling eyes. Oh my gosh, those teachers, or that this or that, like, because they feed on that. And we need to just be very mature, even if we don't feel like being mature. We need to be very respectful always, even if they're struggling. Acknowledge the struggle. You want to pick up the phone, speak to the principals. They'll always get back to you. Call a teacher, work things out, but never put downs, because that will just, and they learn that from watching you struggle with something that you're struggling with, whether it's work related or shluchus related, or something's going on in the home with a different sibling. And that's really the best school, is when they watch how you react to stressful situations. You are literally giving them the tools to handle stress, and life is filled with stress. And some of the biggest stresses happen in ninth grade. So, you know, they're watching us. When your fridge breaks, you know, or when something falls apart or your cake burns, like, how do you react? And that's really the best lesson, is, you know, to trach gut, sein gut, to be positive, to put things in perspective. You know, something breaks, like, how do you react? And these things, have in mind that you're programming the DNA of your children and your grandchildren and all future generations to come by how you react to everything, and that will give them the skills. I just want to mention something that I think is really important. Don't be so hard on yourself. I'm talking to myself. Don't be so hard on myself. We're really doing the best we can. Give yourself a pat on the back, on the shoulder. We are superstars. We are navigating uncharted territory. We're raising our children, at least my generation is the first generation, post Gimel Tammuz, to raise our children in a completely different world that our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents didn't have to deal with. And we're really doing an amazing job, I have to say. And you need to feel good about yourself and feel confident. And don't be so hard on yourself, because you're awesome. You're really amazing. That's really number one. And number two, I want to conclude with just one other point that's a little bit more practical. And that is that New York State, New York City has a lot of resources that don't exist in other states. Or if you're coming from out of town, you need to know this. If your child is living in New York right now, there are so many resources. Don't be offended if the school calls up and says, Mrs. So-and-so, you know, we think that maybe you should get your daughter evaluated for whether it's a reading disability or whatever it might be, any type of disorder. There are many hundreds of disorders that we talk about these days. Go for it. There are so many resources, so many, whether it's therapists or tutors, that you can get help for your child for free. Jump on the opportunity, take advantage of it. It's not going to affect your shidduch, I promise you. Do what's right for your child, and Hashem will take care of the rest. And and whatever it is, there's New York City is the king, the queen of resources in every area, even outside of New York. I live on the border of Queens and Long Island. Long Island doesn't have nearly as many resources as New York City. There are shluchim, there are people that move to New York if their child needs resources, because it's just an incredible place for that. So take advantage of it. And if you think your child's struggling in something, don't be embarrassed to reach out to the principals. The principals are here for us. They care about our kids more than you can imagine, even if your child doesn't see it or feel it, because so many kids, and you know, they really do, and they will help you navigate whatever it is that you think your child might be struggling with. And just want to wish all of us, you know, a good bench to yar, a good bench to yar, a nachas from our children. And the Eibusher should just, you know, bench us with, you know, Bahar Chava, with everything we need to raise our children to be, you know, they're our treasures, and we're all going to together live the Leb Mashiach, and with pride, our Beis Rivka girls are on the front lines to bring Mashiach. I could promise you that.
I mean, beautiful. Just to add to what you're saying, you know, like you keep reiterating about like just staying calm and like not like either like not getting all in a tizzy when there's an issue, you know. I think that is very important. And like you said, like not judging your daughter and not reacting. I think also maybe you touched this also, like when you have conversations with your daughters, sometimes they're very like black and white. This group of girls are doing this and this group of girls are doing that. And this girl is like this and this, basically it's a huge school, all kinds. It's a school of our community and all kinds. And sometimes they're judging the ones who are, too tznius, and they're judging the ones who are not tznius enough. And they're judging the ones that are too chassidish and the ones that are not so chassidish, whatever it is. I'm just saying.
They have all their categories.
Right. And they put
everyone, they're trying to put everyone into a box.
And why? Because they're trying to figure out their own identity, their own life. Who am I? What type of person am I going to be? What type of person do I want to be? They also do it with the teachers, right? When they say, I like a teacher, I don't like a teacher, it is the style of the teacher and how the teacher, teaches the academics and the, whether it's Lamodei Kodesh or Lamodei Chol, but it's also, they're relating to the teacher. Do I like this teacher? Do I like the way she speaks to us as students? Do I like the way she presents? Do I like the way she comes across? Do I like her philosophies and her ideas? Like because they're figuring themselves out, like, who do I want to emulate? And then it's the older girls and the shluchos of the school, or like the GO or the production heads or seminary girls or whatever it is, same thing. They're trying to think like, who do I want to be like? And, that's just something interesting to notice and to think about. Obviously you said taking part of the resources in New York. So that was more on the physical. I'll say also the spiritual, coming from out of town, of course, taking part in everything special in Crown Heights. And like we as out of towners appreciate so much everyone in New York who hosts our girls and our boys who come, and ourselves when we come, and, just encouraging our family to take, enjoy every moment that they're there in Crown Heights. Obviously going to 770 and all those special opportunities, whatever it is, the major.
There's just so much going on.
Happens and the route, I don't know, whatever it is that,
Right.
we just see from afar. I think that's very, very special. I guess just like, and you said, you wish that we should all merit nachas. I think I feel the same way. We're talking here, quote unquote, experienced mothers. I think at the end of the day, I know that I say, I and we all cannot, pat ourselves on the back if, Baruch Hashem, things are growing great with our children, and we cannot beat ourselves up if, unfortunately, things are a struggle, because at the end of the day, it's all, what the Eibishter wants, and we just daven. If you say, what's the tip? If Mrs. Blau would start off, tell us your best tip for navigating high school I would say daven. That's the best tip.
Right.
Tip.
Tehillim. You can never say enough Tehillim.
Daven, that, that things should just continue in a good path, that you should merit, we should all merit, Eibishter's brachos, the Rebbe's brachos, nachas, and should go easy. And really like if it's going in one way, you can't take the credit, and either way you can't take the credit, because it's all in Hashem's hands, and we should just all merit that it should be easy and smooth.
Amazing.
If I could just
When you're done, before I ask the last question, and we're going to go and introduce somebody to all the mothers. So first of all, this really, as much as this is for 9th grade mothers, everything you shared is really so applicable and relevant for all ages and all genders, and a reminder, like you said, the half an hour of chinuch a day to really think and focus on our children's progress, and to daven for them, and to say Tehillim for them, and everything. So you mentioned, but I didn't add a tip. This is the last question, Mrs. Amnov. What's your takeaway? What do you want to leave us with? What do you want to add? If any of my questions didn't cover something, and if you want to share contact, if somebody wants to follow up with you further, then I guess here's the wrap up. Take it away, Mrs. Amnov.
All right. Well, I think I wrapped up before.
Okay.
That was my wrap up. Maybe now I'll just add 1 or 2 points that I just want to emphasize what Malki was saying is, when we ask questions in a way that, are more specific, like what was the program like, and who, and as opposed to how was it, fine, kids don't talk, you have to pull it out of them. Whatever, just as the year goes on, don't judge them. If they're struggling, don't freak out if they say something radical, because you want them to talk to you. if you start freaking out over something, they'll be like, oh, this lady, I'm not going to talk to her again. Just listen to your children, even if inside, there's turmoil going on. Just be non-judgmental, because they're so worried about conforming. They don't even know what they want to conform to, but they're so worried about conforming. Just be that calm influence in their life. I do want to mention one thing, and that is, if you are comfortable, if you don't have, Bochum at home every Shabbos, if you're able to invite the out-of-towners to your home for a Shabbos, please, I beg of you, invite your daughter's friends. Like, tell them, bring your friends home for Shabbos. And maybe even if it's a friend who lives in Crown Heights, whose home might be different than yours, or whose home, maybe she's got less siblings, or maybe there's things going on, and just every single one of you, keep your eyes out for your fellow, your mother, the fellow mothers and their children. Open up your home to the dormies, open up your home to the out-of-towners, invite an oots, which is toots, traveling out-of-towners, invite them to come to you for a Shabbos.
It's very appreciated. Yes, thank
They
you.
should,
Very appreciated.
who knows what's happening in their life. Maybe last minute, 3 hours before Shabbos, their aunt called and says, everyone has strep, don't come. What are they going to do? Their mother's in Louisiana. She can't email them food for Shabbos. Let them feel, if they come to you and you hear that they're an out-of-towner, just say, I promise you, you could come to me anytime. If for whatever reason your host falls through, just show up. And I think that will be that's a use of
That
out-of-towners.
That is, and by the way, thank you for mentioning that. I mean, it's off, like it's nice because it, like you said, it creates the friendships, bringing the friends home. But as an out-of-town mother, I will say that is one of the biggest, and mothers who are on 9th grade out-of-towners, probably you understand this. One of their biggest worries that they have to navigate is finding a place for Shabbos. And when they're invited, like, even when you say, like, of course you can come anytime, that's still, it's an open-ended invitation. And of course you really do want them to reach out to you and say, could I come to Shabbos? But hard for them
Call
to do.
them. Call them.
You invite them and they feel like they have a place, like it's already Wednesday or Thursday and somebody invited them, it's like such a burden off their shoulders. Like, wow, I was already invited, I already have a place, and they don't have to worry. I mean, obviously in-towners, they of course have a place, their house. So that is a very interesting and important point. And thank you. We do appreciate everyone who helps our children. I wanted to say one thing, if I could. I think this idea of like navigating, when they're trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong and conforming and all that. And sometimes they will maybe ask your opinion. And like, I think nowadays, especially, there's so much, maybe the word is like confusion, what's right, what's wrong. And, and I think there's a big mix of, this is halacha and this is minhag and this is chassidus and this is not. And it's like, is it really not allowed? Is it just, is it allowed? Is it, is it black and white, usser, or is it just not, doesn't pass? Or like, there's so many different categories and they're trying to figure out also. And I think when it's all like dumped together, that everything's not allowed or everything's in one category, then it's easy to just reject it all because like it's too much. And it's not even true. It's not all allowed. Some of it is allowed and it's just dumped together and it's overwhelming for them. So, obviously if you have your own shpia or rav that you could call when there's a question that your daughter might be asking, can I do this? My friends want to do this, something, and you're not sure, like, is it allowed? Is it not? And then you get the perspective of how you should help them to figure it out. And sometimes it's going to be a gray answer that no, it's not allowed. Tell them that it's allowed, but is this something that they want to do? Is this the Hasidic way or something like that? Like where you leave it up to them, which is great for teenagers because it gives them that control. And you're not telling them like a 2-year-old, you can't do this, you can't do that. Plus you're not telling them something that's not true, that it's not allowed when it really is. So they trust you more. And then you leave it up to them and you have the backing of your Rav or your Mashpia who guided you on how to navigate this very tricky time where it's, very focused on what everybody is doing, and it's not so simple for them to figure out for themselves. I don't know, just a little tip.
Thank you.
Thank you. Not so little, big tip. So much to absorb, so much. Wow, that was incredible. One mother just wrote in that if your daughter is shy to invite the out-of-towners, the mother could also post on the out-of-towner group that she's ready to host, and the mothers could help arrange it. If the ninth graders haven't settled yet socially to be able to do that, she was just suggesting that. Thank you for that suggestion. Wow, thank you, Mrs. Almanov, and thank you, Mrs. Rifkin, for your pearls of wisdom. I know we're all in this together and it's all in Hashem's hands, but when we have, the guidance of those that have been there before us, it is still ever so helpful. So thank you so, so much. And what's oozing out of you is just such appreciation and positivity for the school. And the truth is that's really when we're set up for the success the most, that when the mothers and the school are on the same page and working together, then our daughters really benefit. So thank you, Mrs. Alma. Thank you, Mrs. Rifkin.
You said something about giving our contact information.
Would you like to, if anyone wants to reach out to you? That was would you
Sure.
like?
Sure.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Mrs. Almanov, you want to go first and then I'll go.
Okay, my number is 917-613-0223. I couldn't get 770, so we did 613. Again, 917-613-0223. Chani Zalmanov. Malki.
Okay, thank you. So Malki Rifkin, New Orleans, 504 is the area code, 939-2565, 504-939-2565.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so, so, so much. We are so lucky to have had this. And the truth is, in Beis Rivka, you're so lucky. I'm transitioning on to the next part of the program. Besides with incredible support and a new principal, Mrs. Murazev, and a mechanechas, Mrs. Rendler, and Mor Tachtel, there's so, so much support. There's something new for this year that I just wanted to make you aware of and introduce you to. They sent an email, but in case it got lost or, there was so much going on, we thought that tonight would be a good opportunity for you to see her face and hear from her a little bit. That Beis Rivka introduced a parent advocate, where if you feel that you would like someone to be your advocate with the school, and to communicate and help advocate for something for your daughter, she herself will explain it a little bit more, but I wanted to introduce all of you to Sari Korf, the parent advocate, and she can also be another tool, another support for you as you're navigating this stage. So thank you, Mrs. Alvin, Mrs. Rifkin. Transitioning on to, take it away, Sari Korf.
Hi, everybody. Coming in at the end of a really great panel with a lot of really good advice. So just bear with me one moment while I bring up, there we go. So basically this year, Beis Rivka created a position, a parent advocate, to help support the parents. Thank God we have some really great teachers, which I'm sure you're getting to know right now, teachers, principals, and administrators who really give their all to the students. And most often, as I'm sure you all know, direct communication between the parents and the teachers is your best bet to avoid any issues. If you have any problems, to speak with them. Sometimes though, especially in a school this big, it helps to have a liaison and an advocate to help you navigate where to go, who to turn to, or how to deal with something you feel maybe you need a little more attention with. And that's where I come in. As a parent advocate, I can help if a student is unhappy in their current school environment, if they're being bullied, if a student feels like her teacher is not meeting exactly what she needs, she's not getting the support she needs, and if a student is going through a difficult time at home and you'd like certain allowances to be made for her, you feel like the school should know about it. Unfortunately, I cannot deal with certain things like financial decisions. I don't change or reform any of the school policies. However, if there is a certain policy you feel like is affecting your child, I'm definitely here to help. And I also can't tell staff how to behave or what to do. The way it works is a parent would call up. I would speak with the parent, record all their information. The parent would then I would then speak with the principal and the teacher, record all their information, and then mediate between the parents and the administration. I'm also available and also to help parents in meetings where they feel like they need a representative. It would help for them to have an advocate, somebody who's not as emotionally invested in both problems to help mediate it. This is my contact information, my email address, the phone number with my extension. I know parents work for the most part, and they, 9 to 5 is maybe when they're busy. I'm available after hours. If you leave a message, you email, I definitely would get back to you as soon as possible. And I'm here to help for whatever you need.
So amazing, all these new resources. It's really phenomenal what Beis Rivka adds each year. Thank you. Sorry, amazing.
Thank you.
So somebody just asked if there's a place, I don't know that this is a question for Sari, so I'll try to get the answer. If there's a place to find all teachers' contacts and emails. I actually don't know that myself, so I'll ask the principals to address that on the group. So I guess, yes, parents, you are so lucky. Welcome. We wish you a lot of hatzlacha with the wisdom from Mrs. Alman and Mrs. Rifkin. If you ever need anything, know that Sari is here for you. And we're all cheering you
cheese.
along the way and wishing you a
My
lot.
cheese.
What?
That's-
Oh, was that for us? Sorry. And really wishing all of you hatzlacha. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Sorry.
No, just
Anybody? Yeah, Mrs. Rifkin.
I
go
want
ahead.
to just say, we're thanking, you'll be thanking teachers and shluchos and advocates and principals, even in Beis Rivka, the secretaries who are longstanding, amazing women there for so many years. When you call and you say, if you have a message for your daughter and they say, oh, mazel, don't you get a mazel tov? Or did you just have a baby? Or I'm like, how do they even know my daughter and our family? And it's with hundreds of girls, and they know so much about the girls that are coming into the office. To me, that's when I think of Beis Rivka, as big as it is, where it's yes, on the one hand, you're, one of so many, and we need advocates and we need help in that to, really zone into helping each one. And on the other hand, it's everyone there just really, I think, cares about each girl.
I just noticed that, sorry, what you posted only went to the panelists. I'm going to repost it for everybody. scorp@bethrivka.edu and 718-735-0400, extension 1600. Yes. Okay. And may
Thank you
all
so
of
much.
our hard work lead us to the ultimate of the success of our girls, like Mrs. Almanov said, bringing Mashiach. And that's what our hope is for all of us. Wishing us all hatzlacha. Thank you for joining.
Amen.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Good night.